Hey, we're Blenderstyle, and we got your fix. On this episode, Cradle of Filth, Nymphetamine, released in 2004. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Boys, it's time. We're all Cradle of Filth fans. I think we all saw them together
I've never even heard of this band.
with Nay Oblivious Scars. Remember that show? I've never seen so many.
Yeah, I remember that movie.
I've never seen so many ruffled shirts and doilies in my whole life. I wasn't sure which Cradle of Filth album to pick. I like a lot of them. They have like over 15 now, I think, something like that. And the first one I got into was like from the 90s. And then
What was the first?
The first one I got into was Cruelty and the Witch, or Cruelty and the Beast. Yeah.
That was mine also.
Really love that one. I almost picked that one. Yeah, I just wasn't sure. I almost picked Hammer of the Witches.
Yeah.
I decided Nymphetamine's kind of like, I feel like Nymphetamine, the track, is probably Cradle of Filth's best song.
I just want to thank you for not picking Thornography.
I don't love Thornography.
Yeah, I'm just glad you didn't pick that one.
So there's a lot of Cradle of Filth albums that kind of like,
Linger.
they suck a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Like there's something annoying about them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say.
But I like all of them in their own right. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, 100%, except for Thornography.
I feel like this one's a standout.
Okay.
Oh, for sure.
So I was trying to kind of pick one of the better ones, in my opinion. So here we are, cracking the Cradle of Filth.
So I got into Cradle of Filth pretty early on too, and I think, I think they're kind of that beginner band for most people to get into, like, say, like black metal and darker stuff. And this is
Which
like
album
also,
did you go in?
Cruelty and the Beast was the first one,
Okay.
and then
So did you go backwards into their discography and listen to the real grimy shit?
yeah, for sure.
And I'm guessing you loved it, right?
Yeah, I enjoyed it very much. I just love the longevity of this band. I love
The work
Dani
ethic.
Filth, especially is just a great vocalist. He still performs very well.
Dude, I don't know why he's not in the fucking discussion for greatest of all time in extreme metal. Like,
Oh,
it's
for
just,
sure.
it's a fucking, he's completely underrated.
Oh yeah, I would say
His
for sure.
range on this.
You know why it is, right?
Why? What's
He just goes slightly under the radar.
It's mean.
He walks right underneath it.
But like dude from Lorna Shore is in those discussions.
Yeah, 100%. Dani Filth is 10 times the vocalist.
And like longevity, right? Not only is he technically excellent, but has been doing it for decades and he still performs. I'm sorry to jump in on that.
Oh
It's
no,
just-
for sure.
It just needs to be said, dude, because I think this band gets hated on, especially by like the black metal community, a little too much. And I don't know why he's completely underrated, in my opinion, and as a lyricist too.
Oh
For
yeah,
sure.
for sure.
He's writing like goddamn poetry, damn near.
And I think that's probably what it is. Probably with some people, I guess you would say, is he's maybe a little long-winded for some of these other, simpler
Yeah.
black metal guys.
And that's fair, dude.
There's too much sophistication
Well, I'm the
going
simpler
on here.
black metal guy. You know what I mean? And
You like caveman shit.
yeah, but that's what I love about this. I love that it's a little bit polished up. I love that it's very like theater.
It's theater, yes.
It's very much performance, and everybody in this, whoever's playing with this band at any given moment, are very professional. They give it their all. I just love it. And this album, Gilded Cunt, right away of just right.
Yeah.
Their heaviest song, probably. Yeah, I mean, Gilded Cunt is
It's up there.
rager.
It's, yeah. So my first foray into Cradle of Filth, our buddy Jack, I think I got into him a little bit later than maybe you guys did, but I'm not sure. It was maybe 2001, and our buddy Jack had the Cradle of Fear movie.
Uh-huh.
And
Awful.
and I think I touched on this before, where we remember the Rockabilly catalog
Oh, yeah.
back in the day.
That's how you ordered merch.
That might have been way before your time.
Yeah, the
man.
Rockabilly catalog I do not remember.
Okay, no, it was the best thing ever.
Oh.
It was all knockoff merch that tried to pass itself as like real shit. But they always had like a section for Cradle of, and I was always looking for Cradle of Thorns because they're a local Bakersfield band. And I always saw Cradle of Filth, and I was like, what are they? A knockoff Cradle of Thorns wannabe band?
Not even close.
Never even paid attention. And then when like 2001 rolled around, Jack was like, "Oh, you got to watch this movie, Cradle of Fear," and we watched it. And it was the cheesiest B horror.
Danny's
movie.
in it.
Danny's like the main
It's
guy.
awful.
Of it. It's awful. But it's great.
It's not
great.
awful, dude. There's titty, there's gore, there's get the hell fuck out of here.
There's some of the best acting you'll ever see in a B horror flick.
The only thing I hate about that thing is it fucking jumps around and you're like, what?
Yeah. I left that movie.
Like,
going,
I
left his house going, what the hell just happened? Where were we? What was the point of this movie?
Yeah, not even with any finesse like a David Lynch film. It's just like, oh, it's different.
They just cut and they didn't have like a good way to.
Yeah.
It's the complete opposite of their music.
But he had this little S10 with like just fucking highs, and he would crank this shit full blast in his car.
Sounds awful.
And it sounded horrible, and I used to fucking hate it. And then it just kind of started like one day it just clicked. And
The
started
songs are
growing
good.
on me.
Yeah.
And I kind of got into him. But yeah, I 100% agree. He used to brag about how great this band was and how he would do certain things to Dani Filth if Dani Filth gave him the option because he loved this band so much. And
I think his exact words were tongue punch him in the fart box.
maybe that was
I was
it.
like, what was that?
Oh man.
But he was obsessed and like his love for this band was like he was fucking 100% like, oh, Dani writes all his lyrics in a 4/4 Elizabethan kind of format, blah blah blah. Like, and I was just like, I don't know what any of this shit means. But like, I started listening to him and totally got into it, fell down this rabbit hole. And this is one of those bands that anytime they come through, if I have to drive 2 hours to go see them, I'm going to go watch them.
Oh, they put on a great show.
Good. But this album was kind of the one that really solidified my love of Cradle of Filth.
Nice, dude.
Like,
Yeah,
I
dude.
listened to Cradle of Filth before and like got into their albums, but when this album came out, this was the one. And like you said, I think it was that video for Nymphetamine. And the girl from Leaves Eyes was doing the guest vocals on it. And that video was just kind of one of those things that like got me hooked. And then from that point on, I went back and started like really listening to the stuff that Jack always pushed on me. I was like, man, he was right. Mm-hmm. This band is great. This is a crazy ass, like the extremes that they go to and then reel it all back in, and the themes and the lyrical content and the stories that he tells through these songs are amazing.
It's like nigh classical.
Oh yeah, it's great.
It's cool because like some people might say that Cradle of Filth isn't extreme enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is the fact that they do different things and don't care what other people say. They're making the music they want to make.
Oh yeah,
and writing lyrics the way they want to write. That right there is extreme. Mm-hmm. That's extreme to me. It's actually being an individual and an artist and saying like we're doing whatever the fuck we want,
And if you like kind of boil this down a lot, it's not that heavy. Like the guitar sound is actually kind of clean.
Well, I don't know if you know this also with, to me at least, like with black metal, I think that's kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's like heavy black metal. I've never heard anyone, So I think this is definitely like black metal influence, mm-hmm. but it also has like a rock feel to it. And I think that's kind of what you're kind of getting at.
Yes, like the guitar playing's not, like if you just kind of listen to the guitar playing, sometimes you're like, this doesn't sound like heavy, like extreme metal, mm-hmm. but they layer everything on it so perfectly, but it's not like super heavy all the time.
No, I love that there's like goth rock elements to it, you know what I mean?
It is very gothic.
Like was Christian death kind of feels to them and stuff, mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah, it's crazy to listen to because these guys are kind of the outcast of the black metal scene. The black metal scene doesn't want Cradle of Filth, but then like
they'll let like Dimmu Borgir in.
Yeah, but then the extreme metal
get
doesn't
also
want
talk shit on now too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it's almost the same thing. I mean, if you're putting out great merch, you're not black metal. Have you ever tried buying a Mayhem shirt, bro? Half the time you're getting like some bad printing. It's gonna fit. You know what I mean? I can't tell you how many.
Really?
I bought a Mayhem merch at the show,
it's drawn
and I'm
on
like, this is it's like I already got holes in it. But you, like,
the guy,
Cradle,
the guy working at the
liar.
merch booth was ashing in this fucking.
but Cradle, Cradle merch is excellent.
I went and saw
fuck yeah.
Botane, and it took me a year to wash the death smell out of it. Yeah. I think there's just a place for some of that, right?
Oh, for sure.
And I just love that Cradle is like more theatrical and more like this is stuff that I'm happy to show my son when he can understand it a little bit more because it is, hey, this is fun, man. Like, don't, like, this is serious, but also at the same time, use your imagination.
Yeah,
Not everything
exactly.
is death and gloom.
So let's talk about some of these songs because I think there's just bangers on Nemesis, dude.
Fucking banger.
The outro part where they're just like riffing for like a. Do you not just?
I don't like fade outs, but I don't mind that fade out.
I don't mind that one either. It works. And then
Black is my heart.
Black is my
yeah.
Fuck. That chant is so good.
So Nymphetamine, there's the long version and the overdose, and then the short version fix.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys prefer the long one over the short one?
I fucks with both kind of because you know what I mean. It's kind of one of those things that like
I kind of feel like.
And then second question,
sometimes I'll just put that track on and I'll listen to the.
And then second question, when you listen to the album and it gets to the fix, which is the last track, do you listen to that one as well?
Oh yeah, every time.
So even though you just listened to it,
so this is
tracks in the middle, track 6.
I think because I was introduced to that song, that track as the fix version, because that was the video that was out.
Yeah, that's how we all get into it. The short one.
When the overdose came out, I still see it as 3 separate songs.
It's like 3 parts.
Yeah, and it's so I love it, and it fits perfectly in the middle of it. I mean, just that transition from the heavy and then the fucking guitar rings in to that first fucking opening chord.
It hooks so hard.
So fucking good.
And she's singing about swans and a V or whatever. I love that song, dude.
Dude, like an album, right?
Dude,
like how long did it take them to? Do you guys know? Like, I mean, how long did it take them to write this album?
15 minutes because Dani puts out a new album every week, it seems like.
Well, I know their Cradle of Filth has obviously been consistent, but I agree that this is like a defining album. I think this is what Cradle of Filth was always trying to sound like and has kind of wanted to sound like again.
So I feel like the album before this, Damnation in a Day, was a good album, but I felt like they were pressured by the record label to do it. And like you said, so this came out and this was their first release on Roadrunner, and they kind of did what they wanted to do. I think back in that time, what was this, 2004?
Yeah.
Roadrunner was still kind of the metal label that let the bands kind of do what they wanted to do.
This is like the peak Roadrunner.
Yeah. And so when this came out, it was killer, and it was weird too because I think it was only a year difference between the last album and this one.
Well, I love that it sounds like nothing else on Roadrunner at the time.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like they came out with Damnation, and then they were like all the record label issues and shit. And they were like, "Oh fuck it, we're just going to start over," and they just immediately went to writing because I think it's like every 2 years that they release something.
They're prolific, dude.
Like
they are. Every year.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
They're putting out tons of albums all the time and touring all the time. Just working man's band.
That's actually one of my notes. Relentless.
Yeah, I have mad respect for Cradle of Filth, dude.
I feel like Nymphetamine might be a little played out. I still listen to it every time. That's like my only
There's
complaint.
got to be a reason
That's
why.
your one beef?
Yeah. There's got to be a reason
That's my
why,
one
because it's
beef.
probably one of the better fucking Cradle records.
For sure. No, the song, the track itself. a little played out. But I think it's also because it was the video and then the re-release with the mix. And then they also did the re-release with the Jezebel Diva cover where she took over the vocals from
That's good.
Liv Kristen. And she redid it. And so it was like there was like 4 or 5 different releases of that song.
It just got overplayed.
Yeah, and
there's 2 versions
I
on
didn't
this.
know that. I didn't get that. Yeah.
But other than that, this fucking album kills it.
My only beef is it is the Dani Filth band.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like one of the last albums before, like, who was it, Stewart? I forget who. Like, there's so much turnover in this band. That kind of bothers me a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's minor.
But you also got to give them credit because even though
kind of happens in these bands,
there's
too,
a
though.
rotating door since Cradle of Filth's inception of all these different musicians coming in and doing stuff, they all still give it 100%.
Especially since Dani doesn't write any of the guitar, I don't think.
I'm not
and
sure.
it's a very consistent
sound.
So when they bring people in, it's like, can you play a Cradle of Filth sound?
Can you play Cradle of
Filth?
Filth?
Well, they have
like, yes.
people from Mayhem in Cradle of Filth at times and stuff.
I know,
And,
it's sick, dude.
Also another band that we brought up is kind of the same too as Demi Borgir. Like, I think it's the guitar player.
Nick Barker played in both those bands.
What's cool about these bands, it's a band like Cradle of Filth and some of these early like Demi Borgir and stuff, is like these bands like started when they were in high school, you know? So like of course people kind of came and left, you know? People had drug and alcohol issues, people get married, people try different careers and stuff. But also within the members that have gone in and out of the band, to my knowledge, like guitar wise and stuff, maybe not so much keyboards, have been a part of the black metal community and heavy metal, you know, community. So it just makes sense that, I mean, if Dani Filth came to you and was like, "Hey, would you play guitar on my record?" I mean, most
do you want to make money or do you want to be in your
or no, like
black
dude,
metal
that's
project?
sick, right? Like, because most of these guys, you know, now they might be hard faced to be like, "Oh yeah, Cradle of Filth sucks," but when you really get them drunk, and they're gonna admit that Cradle of Filth is probably their favorite band.
Well, and
know?
then kind of to touch on like you said, like that rotating door of musicians, it also gives like a good opportunity to showcase all these different people that come in and like have their own style, but they still could conform to this genre or this.
I think it would be interesting to try to write a cradle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh,
It's
I'm
probably
this
a good
musician,
challenge.
but I'd like to write a Cradle of Filth song.
What was
you know?
it in Dorothy Doug Venus Versa?
Good.
Ashley came in from Abigail Williams, and she was the keyboards for that. And they brought her in and did that, and she did for one album. And it was, to me, was like the resurgence of Cradle of Filth, because I feel like after this album there were 2 flops in a row for me. So I give this 4.4 out of 5.
Nice.
This album's a killer album. It's not my favorite Cradle of Filth album by far, but it's up there. It's on my rotation of like my top maybe 2 or 3 Cradle of Filth albums. Fucking relentless. Like, it kills. Like you said, Dani's vocals are consistent, and like for how long he's been doing this to still have the range that he has is killer. And just his vocal patterns and his delivery are killer.
Excellent.
They deserve way more respect, like Matt said, for sure.
Nathan?
So, boys, I give this a 4.8. I agree with Casey completely. I don't know if maybe this is my favorite Cradle of Filth, but I think it's the best Cradle of Filth. I think this is the best like, as a band, this just sounds so solid. The only reason why it's not a 5.0 really for me is that it is a little played down. This has definitely been a part of my life for a while,
and that's a downfall of making it like their most popular album. Is it gets played out to the point where the people that are really into it. It's
so good though, man. Like, this is the one I had the CD, you know, and like in my work truck, I have an old work truck, so like in the CD player, like I'll put this on and like I'll have a stack, right? And then I'll like listen to it and move on, right? Like this album, like I'll just listen to it for a minute and not give any of these others love until I feel bad, and then I switch it. But this is a great record. 4.8, guys.
This is one of the, I've literally like shared Cradle of Filth with non-metal people, and then they'll like send me a text like 6 months later, and they're like, "Hey, I'm listening to Nymphetamine." I'm like, "Really? You like that song?" He's like, "Yeah, something about it." I'm like, "You do you, homeboy."
Yeah.
I give it a 4.8 out of 5 as well.
Fuck yeah, man.
This album's amazing. And it's funny that you say that like, it just, when it's in your like queue, you just like keep listening to it. That's kind of my experience with this too, is I always come back to this one. And I agree, this might be their best one, that like, if you got like analytical about it, kind of like we are, it kind of is their best. I don't know if it's my favorite either. But it's amazing, dude. And, you know, I give it all the love it deserves.
So,
and let me just say it. What I like about Cradle of Filth, and this album does this too, is there's just like a lot of content. There's tons, and no song sounds like the other songs. Yeah. It's very like diverse. Rich in its experience. And
each listen is a bite that you can
it's very like,
there's a lot to absorb there.
It's like very dense and like but not too heady. Like, it's not like, you can just kind of skim it as well and it's just as good. But if you get into the details, it gets like even better. It's just
Yeah.
amazing band. I love this shit, dude.
So we tried to talk about Cradle of Filth before, another album in
Yeah.
season, right? Season 0. And we kind of did the same thing. We kind of went on this tangent about Cradle of Filth. So, what do you guys think? Should we do a Cradle of Filth episode where we talk about
Like a deep dive?
the deep dive?
Deep dive? Like,
I don't know. Let us know.
Yeah,
But
leave a comment.
hey, we're Blenderstyle, and that was Cradle of Filth Nymphetamine. Like Nathan was saying, if you want us to do a whole discussion on the band, let us know in the comments, like and subscribe so you can see when that comes out. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, you gilded cunts.